Flying Casual is brought to you by Patreon supporters Brent, David Bush, Jory Webb, Nate Edison, Wes Anderson, Kelly Breckner, and Andy Dugan. May the Force be with you.
You're listening to Flying Casual, a Star Wars podcast. Here's your host, Michael Canterbury.
Star Wars fans, welcome to Flying Casual, a Star Wars podcast. I am your humble host, Michael Canterbury. Joining me, a couple of dear friends, Spock and Captain Kirk. I don't know, actually. Who has bigger ears?
I feel more Spocky. Yeah.
Apparently, I would be Captain Kirk.
Well,
there are worse captains to be.
You've got the charisma, Holly.
Oh, that's really nice. You would be a great elite. Wait, that is a Vulcan salute. Thing. Yeah, that's a Spock thing.
I know, but since I'm not Spock, I gave it back to Spock.
And phrasing, it's hysterical because this is a Star Wars podcast and we opened it up with a bunch of Star Trek references.
You know, we don't necessarily discriminate against where the Star Wars are taking place.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Or
when. They're always in the stars.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much confirmed. That's canon.
Inspirational.
Thank you. Write that down. I got a pen and paper. We'll write that down here. But folks, no, but sincerely, I have here with me the lovely Holly. Holly, marg in hand, well-rested, I hope. How you feeling?
I don't know about the well-rested
Well-rested, no?
I don't feel well-rested.
Do you need to take the night off? I mean, we can just cut it. And
can you guys give me 20 minutes? Let me go take a power nap, and I'll be back.
Power nap. Put Chewie in on your seat, and he can fill in.
He would be a good candidate.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to say.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I also got my dear friend Luke Elner. Luke, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, doing all right. Got a little sun today, out there in the warmer weather. Have a beer ready and
lovely.
Mind on Star Wars.
It was a lot of sun. Can I say that, guys? A lot of sun today. I actually got a little burnt. Some people call me a ginger, but I take offense to that.
Oh.
It's a strawberry blonde, Holly. And I'm not talking about my neckline now. That's bright red.
It's more like red.
That's very red.
Yeah.
But the hair's lightening up. It's happening. It feels like summertime.
I was gonna make a redneck joke, but I feel like we already did that in the group. So
that was probably one of the best conversations the group's ever had.
Well, let's talk about it for a second. Luke.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had a chance to be on Facebook. Michael and I got in a debate yesterday that I said, can you imagine if there was a redneck stormtrooper? And I'm thinking like a sawed-off blaster, like whatever.
Wow.
I don't know. That's what I think of.
I don't know if that would help a weapon.
A cut-off.
I feel like it would.
Stormtrooper, cut-off armor. Yeah. And anyway, he's got a nice trucker tan going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then Michael was like, well, holy... That was my Michael impression.
Thank you. That was pretty good.
There is a redneck stormtrooper in the deleted scenes of The Last Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
I don't...
The slap on the ass guy.
Yeah, no, he did. I was right? I mean, I'm not making it up.
He slaps Finn on the butt, right?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, because he's like congratulating him for his promotion, right?
Well, so Paige found it. She found like the clip because she was like, "Oh, is this a real thing?" Was it James Franco in that scene?
I thought I heard.
Yeah.
I want to say Channing Tatum, but that sounds wild. Was it him?
I feel like nothing is too wild at this point.
I think there was somebody. There was somebody known in the suit for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. The cameos in that movie were actually pretty surprising.
Yeah. No, I agree. Daniel Craig was in there.
Yes, he made the movie.
Others. Yeah.
Like he wasn't in the deleted scenes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's what I meant. Not that his character in that movie really didn't make the movie.
He is in the film, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Made the cut.
Sorry, I'm like getting distracted because Skype is like freaking out and like Luke's face goes like huge and then it goes like small. It's all sorts of crazy. So I'm gonna address that as I talk, which is multitasking, and I don't know if I can do that.
Okay.
But guys, Clone Wars is slowly wrapping up, And the latest episode was quite emotional, Holly. I mean, do you agree with me there?
Yeah.
I've sensed hesitation.
Yeah, we can get into
We'll
it.
get into it.
I don't feel like it was as emotional as it should have been.
Ooh, I couldn't agree more. Luke, were you feeling the emotion here in, what was this, episode 11, Shattered, part 3 of the Mandalorian Siege?
Yeah, this was such an interesting experience. I think Holly captured it with the word just emotional. This, of all the episodes we've seen of this final arc so far, being the third of 4, was the least, I think, revelatory. We learned, I think, the least, and or we were able to kind of guess a lot about what we were going to see, but it was still probably, for me, the most emotional I have been.
It's Skype he sounds like a robot.
That's the Spock in him.
That phrasing also. We're gonna have to probably come back to Luke.
I don't know what you guys think about. I'm gonna switch my Wi-Fi. Hold up.
You know what's funny, Holly?
What?
In that moment, he can hear us now, but Luke had no idea that he was sounding like Wally and Johnny Five and R2D2, kind of if they had a child. Luke sounded like that sort of droid.
Sorry, who's Johnny Five?
Okay. Well, now we have even more problems here, Luke. Holly is missing out on a lot of pop culture, apparently. Short Circuit, you never saw it?
What?
Oh, Jesus. Luke, can you please explain, if we have you here, can you explain Short Circuit to Holly for
I
me,
couldn't
please?
tell if Michael was saying that I had a short circuit because I didn't understand the reference.
I'm not saying that, okay?
Is that the robot movie from the 80s?
Yes. It may have been the early 90s. Let's not date it
Early
too
90s.
much, but, I mean, guys, does no one remember this great film? Oh,
I think
jeez.
I've seen it maybe once.
Okay.
I can't quote it.
So when Luke
Oh,
said robot
goodness.
movie from
Yeah.
the 80s, that rang a bell, but it also probably rang like 15 of them because I feel like that was a very popular subject in
Yep.
the 80s.
Robots or
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing. He looked very much like Wally. He was a lot bigger than
Did he have
Wally.
a long arm?
He had arms, yes, but he had 2 tracks. The face very similar to Wally.
Did part of that movie kind of take place in like a construction zone?
I don't remember the entire plot, but it was a great movie. A really big part of my childhood.
It was a great movie and a big part of your childhood, but you don't remember that much.
Well, it was a
about
long time ago, Holly. I'm an old man now, so. But I think they made a second one too, and that I have not seen.
Was that one called Short
I
Circuit?
think it was Short Circuit too.
Two?
I think so. But
I
it got
missed an important segue about how we got here because the Skype cut out for a minute, and now I don't know where we are.
And that's what's great, and that's what I was telling Holly, because when you were, we're gonna come back for your thoughts, your initial thoughts on the emotionalism of Clone Wars. But while you were talking, you had no idea that it was, kind of. It was garbled to us, and it sounded like Johnny Five and R2D2 and Wally all kind of had a droid baby, and
Yeah.
a
that's it.
Georgie.
Wow. Wow.
No one else like that. No. Okay. But so now I think we have some. I have a window capture now of Luke up since my NDI had failed me, but and I think Luke's got his Wi-Fi fixed now. So Luke, how did you feel after watching this? I think I caught you saying this was, I know, other than eating root and
that's
beating. I can't remember what Johnny Five says now. He had some taglines, but you said I thought I heard you say it was one of the most emotional episodes, or maybe emotional Star Wars you'd ever seen.
Yeah, I was just sitting there on my couch late at Friday night watching it and just kind of bouncing in my seat, getting emotional as things were picking up. And what I was trying to say earlier before the technical issues was it was surprising to me how emotional it was, because it was the most predictable episode so far.
Yeah.
But it was executed so wonderfully that it still had a powerful impact. And
Yeah.
I think one thing that really hit me was the score and the sound effects were probably the best I've ever seen in Clone Wars. And I feel like I could watch this episode with my eyes closed, and it would still be a really great experience because the score was incredible.
I feel like the score was great. It was very eerie.
Yes.
It kind of had I kind of felt like we were like suspended in time for a minute because there was so much going on in the background of that episode, but really I kind of felt like the soundtrack made me feel like I was in Ahsoka's head.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like everything was happening slow motion, even though to the viewer it really wasn't.
Yeah.
But the soundtrack, just like the synth and how like creepy and eerie it was, like that was my favorite part about the episode.
Yeah, they it allowed you to highlight the dialogue a little more too, and it they knew that we would be wondering, okay, because we know what's going to happen. It's just like, when is it going to happen? Because your sense of time and watching episode 3, it's like, how long does Anakin go to the council and sit on that couch and think about things? Is that like 6 hours? Like, how long does time pass there? We don't really know. And he gets up and goes and saves the Emperor, as we know, or Palpatine at the time. So you're just kind of, when is it going to happen? And so the music kind of had you on edge the whole time. Because I'm thinking right when when they're walking with Maul, I'm like, it could happen right now. Like, it's just, then that sort of, you can't even call it a theme because they were really just kind of, it's a score, but they were using a lot of synth and stuff. It reminded me, this is just kind of a more recent reference of mine, and I'll never forget the Dark Knight for it, but it was kind of that kind of like on edge, just very simple kind of music going on that allows you, it makes your mind kind of race of like, what's going to happen? Something's going to happen. And it's like that the whole time. There's no real downtime through any of the episodes. So that's something that I remember the Dark Knight for, especially, is that kind of unique, just the music that they used and to keep you on edge. You never know when the Joker's going to show up. You never know what he's going to do. And that was kind of like this, like, when's Order 66 going to happen? You know, the clones are going to turn. Like, is Rex going to actually turn? Is he not? Or, you know, it's crazy. And I think going into it, before I even watched the episode, I saw Dave Filoni's, he's been doing these little sketches lately. And the most recent one really affected me because it was a clone's helmet and just like the visor area, and you saw Ahsoka in there in the distance, and it reminds me of some of the art I've seen at Celebration, and there's an artist who does that kind of like in the helmets of characters or in the eyes of characters moments, and it was kind of like that. It was amazing, and you're just like, I mean, is that Rex looking at her? Is it just one of the troopers? So that kind of led me into just like, oh my God, this is going to be heavy. And then I started thinking, oh my God, Rex could actually turn, because I didn't think he was going to. So Holly, you mentioned maybe, you know, it wasn't so emotional. There's definitely some emotion there. It's not like you were just like, this is terrible. But like,
oh yeah, for sure.
So what was it that really maybe didn't hit the mark?
I don't know. I even was thinking about that when we were watching it the second time. I don't know exactly what it is, and you know, maybe give me a couple more days to think about it, and you know, maybe I can come back to it. But I just like, I'm not sure exactly what it is. I just felt like maybe I'm just traumatized by Rebels, and that's taking up my whole mind. But I just like, I don't know. I feel like for how much emphasis they put on Ahsoka and these clone troopers' relationships and how close they were and how respected she was, I kind of feel like I expected maybe like a deeper reaction from her when they turned on her, as opposed to her just like easily shooting some of them down throughout the episode. Maybe that's what it was that didn't really work for me very well.
Well, I definitely get that. And I was kind of feeling the same way. And then I was thinking, well, right when she kind of has that moment, she's like, Rex, like something's going on. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, why am I being held at blaster point right now?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh my God, okay, that kind of takes you out of it. So you're right. You want her to have more of a moment. It's just like the circumstances don't really allow for it, because it's like
That's
he
true.
turns and then you have the clones on everyone, right? And I wasn't sure if it was going to be right when she, felt it, that she's going to be around all the clones and surrounded like it happened, or was she going to have a moment alone and like we wanted, kind of, right? And then it kind of transitions into, wait, whoa, what are you guys doing? So I totally get that. I think that's absolutely fair.
You guys know what I think might make that moment better for me, since it didn't really happen the way that I would have liked for it to have happened.
A Bud Light Orange?
No,
okay.
Not that.
Okay.
I think maybe it would be nice to see Ahsoka trying to reconcile her feelings and everything that she went through after it all happens.
Sounds like you want a series.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that would be nice to kind of see her then go back and reflect on everything that happened and kind of go through that like emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a great point. I think that you're right. Everything happened so fast. She probably didn't have time to be like, wow, like this is really awful. She was more like when you're in fight or flight.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and think about it. Like if we do see that, there's a lot of things happening. She senses Anakin's like in trouble. But you also have Maul on board. She even confronts Maul and says, "Did you do this?" He's like, "I didn't do anything." But you also know that Palpatine is doing Sidious. She knows him as is doing something, and it seems to be what's causing this. And is he so powerful that he's putting thoughts in my head as to like Anakin's in trouble, like tempting us to all come after him and be destroyed? Like there's probably a lot she's trying to reconcile and figure out what is truth and what is she being misled on. But Luke, you see any merit to that? Was that kind of something you were maybe looking for, a little more of a moment that Ahsoka could have with that sense of wrong that she was feeling?
Well, I'd say, Holly, sit tight if you want to stay up late tonight in like 5 hours.
That's right.
The next episode will be available, because I
true.
think you're going to get more of that perspective in this next episode. Like you were saying, fight or flight. This episode was more about survival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now that she's got Rex de-chipped with her,
yeah,
I think they're both going to be in the fourth episode processing what happened. What does this mean? And I think that ship is on its way through hyperspace to Coruscant too, which I think will be really interesting to see them actually get to Coruscant and what happens when they get there.
God.
This fourth episode is gonna be wild. I don't know what to expect from it.
Yeah.
So I would say give that a little time, and I think once the arc's over, looking back, it'll all work a lot better for you, I would think. And I think you see a lot of Ahsoka, like her emotion, her trauma from the experience when she talks to Maul. I think that scene and the way Ashley acted it, in the way the character was rendered and the facial expressions when she's talking to Maul is like the most intense Ahsoka I can think I've ever seen, when she is trying to talk through it with him. Wait, did you do this? What's going on? What's happening?
Yeah.
Choose your words carefully.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some brilliant lines where Maul wants her to, I think, give him one of her lightsabers when he says, give me a fighting chance.
Yeah.
She's like, no, you're just here to cause a distraction. I'm not rooting for you.
Yeah.
Go just cause chaos like you're good at.
Absolutely.
That was powerful stuff, and I think shows like the trouble, the trauma that she's dealing with in those moments from everything that's happening.
Yeah, it's a lot to sort out. I mean, but she is a little different than everyone. She has Maul to think about too. It's like Yoda. I mean, yes, Yoda was attacked. He beheaded those clone troopers, and then he runs off. But she has Maul here now. Like Obi-Wan also. Well, I don't know. Obi-Wan went through some crap. He fell off a cliff. That was a lot. So yeah, she's got Maul to think now. Now that he's free and running about, is she gonna run into him again? What's great about where they ended this is that you, like Luke said, you kind of had an idea where this was going. We kind of knew how things were gonna fall. Now you have no idea. You have no idea where we're going. We know Rex and Ahsoka are going to go off, but they're going to split up at some point. We're going to see that. I'm assuming we're going to see that. But yeah, it's what more is she going to learn? Is she going to learn more? Or is Obi-Wan going to contact her? I don't know. He has that ability, I would imagine. So yeah, I have no idea what to expect at this point. So we kind of jumped into things, but I just I have some notes. They've been jeopardized by a cookie that the grease bled through the pages. So that's kind of hard to read now at this point. But I think one of my favorite moments from this episode was, Ahsoka walking into the council meeting. And we're seeing play-by-play discussion of episode 3. And it's great, after, what's Yoda say? Grave care we must take. That's his final line, I believe, in that moment in episode 3. And then we then turn to Ahsoka. She walks into the meeting. That I felt like was beautiful. And it did a couple things. It even highlighted Mace's kind of snarkiness. He's very snarky to Anakin, like, I don't trust you. She's like, Jesus, like, what'd the kid do to you? Like, and then like Ahsoka, like, oh, this citizens aren't privy to this information. It's like, Jesus, okay, like, come on, dude. She went through a lot of crap. So Luke, what did you think of that scene? I mean, did it connect well for you there? Did it work?
Yeah, what I really enjoyed about all episodes in this arc so far is getting those touch points, letting us know where we are relative to Revenge of the Sith. And, in the first episode, it was really subtle, or not subtle, but it was a small point of, like, the Battle of Coruscant is starting, Obi-Wan and Anakin have to go. And then we got a juicier one, I think, in the second episode with Obi-Wan touching base and saying, I'm about to be sent off to go find Grievous. And then there were two, huge ones in this episode. The biggest one being the occurrence of Order 66. That's the biggest of all. But this council scene, this talk with the masters there was really enjoyable for me. And like you said, I had to immediately go watch that scene in Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. As soon as I finished it, I finished watching the episode for the first time to see it's Yoda's line, grave danger. And then, bam, Ahsoka walks in, but in the movie, it cuts away. So it's great to kind of see, like, oh, if the camera just stays there for another minute and walks Ahsoka into, like, tie her character into the main saga even more. So I love how tightly knit those are. And you're right, Mace, like Anakin, is he has trouble on, like, interpersonal skills a little bit. Yeah. And Yoda's much more warm and welcoming to Ahsoka, and Mace is really kind of ticked off that she uses that line not as a Jedi, as a citizen.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Yoda thanking her for the work she'd done for the Republic. Like, we owe you a great debt. Like, that's something no one else could do. Bo-Katan even says that, like, you did something none of us could, and that's a huge credit to Ahsoka, and Yoda thanks her, right? And she mentions, like Luke said, it was a duty as a citizen and not as a Jedi. But does Yoda ask her if was she acting as no? He does. He says acting as a Jedi or a citizen. She says as a citizen, not a Jedi yet. I thought that was very important. Holly, what did you take from that moment? Are we alluding to, given time and given Ahsoka being able to kind of, understand what's going on, maybe would she have made a return?
I mean, I think that's kind of what they're alluding to. And I think that she had said before she went with Bo-Katan, she even made a comment about how this was going to kind of set her back on the path to join back up with the Jedi Council, and she was very reluctant to, but I feel like then she had some moments where she was like, maybe, I don't know if it was her thinking maybe this is what I need to do, or this is, my calling, because I keep coming back to this path with the Jedi Council. So maybe she's at that point thinks that she's accepted the fact that she just, that's what she's here to do. Yeah, absolutely. And Luke, it's unfortunate because I feel like we have an enlightened Ahsoka that could have really brought a better balance. We talk about balance all the time in Star Wars, but a better balance to the Council and to the Order itself and in its entirety. I mean, a huge missed opportunity for them, but what could have been? What did you think of that moment?
Yeah, I like the way this episode and arc have built on the tragedy of Anakin.
Yeah.
I put Revenge of the Sith #2 and when we did the rankings for me, so it's way up there, and the fall of Anakin is a powerful story to me. And I love the way that this episode is, like I said, adding to the tragedy because of the close calls in that Jedi Council discussion scene in the movie as well. Anakin steps away right before Ahsoka arrives, and he's the one that she really wanted to talk to because like Rex tells her, yeah, there's the Skype call going on over there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin's there, last that I saw.
Yeah.
And so they head over, but by the time she gets there, Mace had dispatched him to go tell Palpatine, we're engaging Grievous, we're about to end this war.
Mm-hmm.
Which is when Palpatine reveals to Anakin that he's a Sith, which kind of sets everything in motion. And you think if Anakin would have been there a little longer and got to talk with Ahsoka, what might have been if she warned him about the premonition from Maul.
Yeah.
And obviously we know that can't happen. They can't rewrite that story in this episode. Anakin's going to turn. Anakin's going to become Vader. We know that's going to happen. But for me, there is power and power in that story to make it even more tragic because of the relationship that Ahsoka and Anakin have. Like I think we talked a little bit last week. You feel like she's the one person other than Padme and Obi-Wan who kind of try to reach Anakin and keep him from the dark that maybe could have.
Yeah.
So that's to me why it is meaningful to see it, even though it's one of those moments again people more cynical might like scoff at. But
yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and a great transition because I wanted to ask Holly. She'd read a little something before we got started about that moment because Yoda sticks around after everyone leaves. I thought that was freaking
I
great.
like that.
I love that. Like that's something you need to relay to General Skywalker. Now, like I'll let him know when I see him. Once again, it's just like still thinks there's time. Still thinks they're going to be reunited and she's going to have that moment. I thought that was pretty crazy, but they end their conversation and Rex says, you didn't tell about General Skywalker. Wow, Ahsoka, had she said something to the council in that moment, hey, Maul told me this about the Sidious, would they have taken her seriously? Would it have changed anything? I tend to think, you listen to Mace talk about Anakin, I don't trust you. And then he says, if what you've told me is, Anakin goes to them himself and says, he's a Sith Lord. Like, okay, well, if what you say is true, then you'll learn my trust. It's like, what? This is the chosen one telling you we have a Sith Lord amongst us. So I don't know if her saying anything would have done any good. Holly, you read a little something from an anonymous individual. I don't even know if we know their name, but we won't name them. No one that we know. Was it an article or just?
I think it was just an article that I read online from. I don't know.
Star Wars. Oh God, no Sith plots around us.
Anyway,
some social justice warrior site about Star Wars. Probably.
No, it wasn't.
No, not that. Okay,
it was just an opinion article that somebody wrote about the episode.
Gotcha.
I can link it in the group or something later, but I don't know. Whoever wrote the article was just saying how they thought that Ahsoka had the chance to tell the council and that she could have changed Anakin's fate.
Oh, that's a bold statement. I'm sorry. I know this is all fiction, folks. That's a bold statement.
Yeah, I think that I kind of wish that I don't know. Okay, so I'm super conflicted on this because I think I can see it going two different ways. I think that it's that Ahsoka could have told them, and I think that Yoda would have taken it seriously. I think that he would have believed her, but I don't think that anybody else would have because I don't think it's Ahsoka not being credible. I think it's Darth Maul not being credible.
Yeah.
So I think that they would be like, look at who told you this information. Of course he's going to say something like that. Like, we're not going to take it seriously. And then later, I mean, hindsight's 2020. They're going to wish that they had. But I also think that Anakin was on this path, and I don't actually know if I believe that he could have changed the course that he was on. Because I feel like at this point, I mean, he's so caught up in all of his personal issues and the things that are going on, and then just the feelings of, you know, anger and some betrayal that are happening. And I just feel like at that point, if she had told them then, I don't think that it would have been something that could have changed him. Maybe if she had told them earlier, there would have still been time. But I think at this point in time, I don't think that it would have made a difference.
Well, you're it's a matter of timing, right? Because I agree. It feels like Anakin has gone too far. But if you recall, him going and talking to the Chancellor reveals himself as a Sith Lord. He pulls his lightsaber. I'm going to report you to the council. Like, he has a moment where that's what he should have done, and he did. It was the council and the way they handled the situation. Just everything the Palpatine was saying in that moment became true to him. You're right. They don't trust me. Something else is going on here. Even Obi-Wan's been very secretive about it. They're not allowing me to actually, I'm a master, but I'm not on the council. That's never been done. So there's so many things coming at him, and Palpatine's just feeding it to him, and it's all kind of coming true in his eyes. So you're right. I think that he's down a path that would be very difficult to turn from, but it's also a matter of timing. And I love what you said about maybe just Yoda in that moment, having that conversation with Ahsoka. Maybe it would have been handled a little differently. Luke, am I wrong? It feels like sometimes in these council meetings that Mace has a very large opinion, and it tends to be the one that we often go with. I mean, would that conversation have been any different without, the rest of the council present?
Well, yeah, when you talk about the weight that Mace has, I think the way it's depicted through the prequels, it's like Mace and Yoda are the top two.
Yeah.
So he does carry a lot of weight and makes a lot of decisions. I think part of this is just a basic logistical issue of the council and the masters are so scattered. When you think of that scene, Ki-Adi-Mundi's off on whatever planet, I can't remember all the planets they're on. He's off there. Yoda's on Kashyyyk at that time.
Yep.
Aayla Secura is on whatever planet, and Mace is there on Coruscant with a couple of the masters that he takes to go confront Palpatine.
Yeah.
But they die. So Mace is one of the most powerful Jedi to begin with. He's one of the only big masters left on Coruscant at the time.
Yeah.
And think about the moment Anakin turns. He doesn't turn in the scene that you keep referencing, Mike, when Palpatine reveals himself
exactly
to Anakin. Anakin leaves and goes and tells the council. Anakin wants the council to apprehend him.
Yep.
Potentially put him on trial, whatever would happen. And Anakin is okay with that outcome because Palpatine's still alive.
Yeah.
And I imagine he envisions visiting Palpatine in jail and getting the secrets about keeping the ones you love alive.
Absolutely.
It's only at the moment that Mace is about to kill Palpatine and he fears losing the knowledge that Palpatine says he'll share with Anakin about keeping those you love alive, keeping Padme alive specifically. That's when he turns. It's the moment of losing that information, that knowledge, that causes his turn. So it seems kind of unavoidable that it gets to the point where Palpatine's in that danger. What would they do differently if they received this warning and took it seriously?
Yeah.
Mace still didn't plan to have him there when they confronted Palpatine either way. He went on his own after being told to stay away.
Yeah.
So again, it's hard to imagine a different way the other Jedi would have acted, even with the information.
Yeah, and it's something. It's because we're right now in this very moment. We're not even talking about Clone Wars. We're talking about Anakin confronting Palpatine, and then the rest of the council showing up and getting owned.
But it's all important for this moment in the Clone Wars.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's like Star Wars fans prior to Clone Wars took that moment and have already and always been saying, what if? What if they would have taken Anakin with them? And as a group, contain the Emperor. Anakin's powerful. You'll need me, he said. Or wait, he may have told Kenobi that. Yeah, I think he told Kenobi that. But if he had been there, things could have been different. I believe there's even a Episode 3 video game where there can be an alternate ending of Anakin destroying Palpatine. Like, it is something Star Wars fans have been doing for a very long time. What could have been? And now it just becomes that much more complicated when you take Ahsoka and the weight, that she carries and the relationship that she has with Anakin. Had she reached out to him, had she been able to reach out to him, would it have made a difference? I think about him and Obi-Wan, when they're facing each other. Yeah, Anakin's done a lot of crappy things now, but Obi-Wan couldn't even change him.
And, Padme couldn't change him
Padme
either.
couldn't
And
change
I think that's the bigger thing. Yes, his relationship with Ahsoka, is so powerful, and they mean so much to each other. And I understand that this is a little bit earlier than that moment that he has with Padme.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, really a lot happened. So I guess you could say it's still a matter of timing if Ahsoka had gotten to reach out to him in this moment.
Yeah.
But I just feel like if Padme couldn't even turn him, and that is the person who he said he couldn't live without, I don't know how much Ahsoka could get through to him at that point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Even those he was closest to, they couldn't do it, but it is ultimately, it's a matter of timing. It's a big what if, and it's crazy. Now, I could have used, I'll say this, in that moment, I could have used a little more of what was happening. They used direct audio from Episode 3 in that confrontation, right? But I could have used a little more of maybe Order 66. I get we've seen it play out in Episode 3, but I kind of would like to have seen a little more, just snapshots in time. Luke, did you need more in that moment, or were you just content with what we got in the movie and that's fine? Or do you think it could have added a little more weight to everything that was happening?
No, I really am happy they didn't do that. I love that scene in Revenge of the Sith. It gives me the chills every time.
Yeah.
Watching the different Jedi fall. I think it is really well done in the film. So I'm very happy they didn't kind of mess with that, didn't touch it anymore, kind of leave that be its thing that is already there. And we're just seeing Ahsoka and Maul both feel it through the Force that it's happened. Yeah. And just see what their perspective is and what their experience is. So I really like the use of the audio from Revenge of the Sith, like you were talking about, where you hear Anakin tell Mace, like, not to kill him. This isn't the Jedi way. When, not to kill Palpatine. And then you hear eventually Palpatine, unlimited power, which is just such a fun, quotable line from Revenge of the Sith that, people joke about all the time. I have a good friend who loves to joke about that particular line. I really enjoyed that part of it, but I'm kind of happy they didn't do more than that. I think it was powerful use of the audio, and then to watch Ahsoka's reaction and to have her feel it through the Force. Definitely. What's happening. And I really, the moment right after that where she gets confronted by Rex after he gets Order 66, it was amazing how well done this is in animation. Yeah. Put it up next to any like live action scene, I think, to see Rex have enough of a connection to Ahsoka and be able to kind of fight through his programming. Yeah. And he's shaking and tear running down his face as he's trying not to kill Ahsoka, as he tries to kill Ahsoka at the same time, but give her enough information to do something about what's going on. So, sorry, I'm going on for a minute, but I have to say, earlier today, I was cooking and doing some dishes and stuff. I was in the kitchen for a while, so I put on the Fives arc that we talked about last week that is referenced so directly in this episode about how they discover the chips and how Rex knows to tell her find Fives. Yeah. And it's a really great arc, 4-episode arc. I was able to watch it all as I was cooking it and cleaning dishes on my phone. It was a harken back to my old Clone Wars day, watching them on my phone all the time. And so it was great to see that sort of payoff from that earlier arc in this episode. So that whole sequence, the way she fought off all the clones and then spinning in a circle for a while before she kind of got out of there. I wouldn't change anything about that.
No, that moment does a couple of things, right? It allows us to see Rex battling, like Luke said, his programming, and you're seeing glimpses of himself coming through the programming and just relaying a message of some sort, which doesn't make a lot of sense to her. But I kind of wondered, like, how is Ahsoka gonna? She has to probably somewhat quickly figure out what the hell happens if Rex is jeopardized. If he's not, then maybe he can explain some of the experiences he had in the past. But it's so great in that it allows us to see him grappling with that. And in my opinion, maybe the Force is at play a little bit as well in that bond that they have. That's just my opinion. But overcoming the programming, but also allowing Ahsoka to kind of get up to speed. And which when she goes through his file, we're going to talk about that probably another time because there's some stuff in there. It feels like I give a shout out to Scotty. He could be onto something with it being an older Republic or High Republic era references. We'll see if it means something later. I don't know, but yeah, it totally makes sense that they wouldn't highlight Order 66 too much because it is more so supposed to be Anakin's or Ahsoka's moment of kind of not mourning Anakin, but feeling, something is wrong with him. Yoda senses the entire, not the council, the whole order just coming down, and it just really is troubling to him. So I feel like that Luke makes a great point. It could kind of take away from that, and you're right. It's probably best that they didn't really dig into that too much. But Maul is also just like, what is happening, right? He's in this this relic of a chamber, which I love that Bo-Katan, says, there was a time where we had to apprehend crazy Jedi like yourself. Thought that was awesome, harkening back to the war with the Mandos and the Jedi. I thought that was great. But the troopers show up to Maul, and it looks like they're going to execute him. I guess that was in the order. I don't know. Did Palpatine get wind that Maul's been captured? I would assume they would inform the Chancellor that the rogue Sith Lord Maul has been captured. I'm sure they did. So did he put an order in there as well and say, get rid of that guy?
That's actually, sorry.
No.
I just have to say, in that moment when that happened, I think that, Michael, you and I kind of discussed it as the episode was progressing.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I guess if they're going into the room where he's being held captive, they're just going to let him go, because earlier when the order was executed, it was said just the Jedi leadership because they are traitors.
Yeah.
And then they go in, and it surprised me that they very clearly looked like they were going to go in to execute Maul.
Yeah.
Because you're right, that had to be its own specific instruction.
Maybe Palpatine himself sent those shock troopers or whatever they are into there.
I guess it would make sense because Palpatine wants to eliminate anybody who would be a threat to
he's a threat, absolutely. So, especially if Ahsoka and him team up and come at him.
I'm just surprised that we didn't hear that part of the order, because I feel like maybe that's something that we should have known. But
yeah, no, it didn't tell us too much more other than, Jedi leaders are to be executed for treason, and any trooper that doesn't, you'll also be executed for treason. So thought we might learn a little more there, but definitely did not. Looking at my cookie grease notes, they're taking it back to Coruscant. A part of me wants to see Maul be taken back to Coruscant in that Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal contraption that he's in, Like, I kind of wanted to see that, right? Palpatine on his throne, and there's troopers everywhere, and he's being escorted up. I think that would be amazing. But we've kind of already seen that with Maul and Palpatine. But Holly's like, no, let him escape. I love Maul now.
Well, we called out, this moment last week. We predicted it in our conversation that we thought Maul and Ahsoka would both be on the same side of Order 66 and to somewhat potentially work together to survive it. And they do enough that prediction was true, but not so much in the way you might think, which I thought was really clever. To see just the like I talked about earlier, there's just the disdain she had for Maul in that moment, but she knew he was a tool she could wield. She knew he was this blunt force object that would help her.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to talk about that hallway scene right now.
Ooh.
It was like the animation team saying like, "Oh, Lucasfilm live action.
Yeah.
We see your Rogue One hallway scene, and raise you this."
Yeah.
It was, I think, something to rival Vader's Rogue One hallway scene.
And he had no lightsaber. He walks into those blasters, kind of dodging them, and then is wielding pieces of metal to block blaster bolts.
Like a shield.
It was amazing.
What a badass.
He and that's the thing. Like, people think about, Maul and the short confrontation with Obi-Wan and even the confrontation on Naboo, and he's powerful. And even more so in time, like in between where we're seeing him now and when we last saw him in the Clone Wars, he's learned a lot. He's honed in his skills. He's ruthless, and that moment showed how ruthless he is. Like, Ahsoka's doing everything she can to like direct blaster bolts away from the clones. He's cutting 3 heads off at a time with a piece of metal.
That was dark.
It was
let
insane.
me just say that was unexpected. I mean, when she tells Maul to go cause mischief because that's what he's good at, this is not what I expected him to be doing. I did not expect him to literally be decapitating people.
Absolutely.
That was surprising to me. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but
no, it was. I mean, you kind of thought he would do some things, but I mean, that was
not that dark.
Yeah, no, that was great. I can only imagine what the troopers are saying. Like, what are we supposed to do with these people? Like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna still fly to Coruscant? They're gonna be a threat there to the Emperor. Like, we're gonna derail somewhere else? I don't know. But there's a moment too, even before he kind of goes on that spree, and she says the clones turned on me, and he just, I don't know if he was like on his knees or whatever, and he starts laughing. Oh, that's how he did it.
They said brilliant.
Brilliant. The admiration he has for him. He despises him, and he wants to destroy him, but he admires his planning. It's almost like Maul has just sought revenge, and, at last we'll reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we'll have revenge. But it's like, Palpatine was playing the long game, okay? You were a pawn in his game, and he now knows that. And it's almost as he's actually appreciating him as a master more so now than he did before. It's amazing. He hates him. He wants to take his throne, but he admires him and he's learned from him, and that's how he's kind of built his way up. So it's more of the evolution of Darth Maul. I freaking love it. But yeah, and then he goes and wrecks some stuff. But some other things, like these are kind of just moments that we kind of passed over a little bit. That I just kind of wrote down on my grease paper. But Rex and Ahsoka having a moment. It was kind of highlights, I think, from the trailer we saw where she's talking about, I've been a soldier my entire Jedi career, and Rex is like, so have I, and a lot of us don't agree with what's going on. Maybe these clones weren't as as scripted as they all thought they were going to be, and dedicated as they all thought they were going to be. But I thought that was a really great moment. I was wondering when that moment was really going to come. We'd seen it in kind of the earlier episodes, but they just have so much in common, and I freaking love it. I just wanted to highlight that moment. But
yeah, Michael, I would say, I'll say this over and over again, to see the stuff that you see in this show on what could be called a cartoon.
Yeah.
If you really want to be,
yeah,
that simplistic about it, the powerful emotions and conversations that are had. That conversation is so serious and really beautiful about how, Ahsoka has only been a soldier since she's been really active as a Jedi out there in the world, and Rex grappling with the fact that so much pain has been caused by the war, so much destruction, and many people wish it would have never happened. That's basically wishing Rex's existence away. Yeah, like he says, I wouldn't be here if not for this war. That is heavy stuff to see in a quote unquote cartoon. And just a really something for you to chew on and think over those powerful sentiments that we could put into our own world. I thought of to like take a trip down history lane. You think about people who grew up like were young kids during World War One.
Yeah.
And like in Europe, the end of World War One and the beginning of World War Two are barely 20 years apart. So imagine being a kid like growing up young, experiencing World War One in your society,
Mm-hmm.
not on the front, but from all the effects that it has in knowing people who don't come back, and then to come of age as an adult and be thrown back into that whole situation on an even like higher scale to a certain degree. That's somewhat of what like Ahsoka and Rex are dealing with their whole existence being this warring period. It's heavy stuff that we can find parallels to in our own reality, and the power in those sentiments just hit me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The go ahead, Ollie.
I was just going to say, I love what Luke said because I do think that was a really powerful moment. And I do agree that you can kind of take it because if you think of this as being a TV show for children,
Yeah.
and
So what are we doing here?
well,
You know?
but I think, sometimes these concepts are really hard for even adults to kind of wrap their heads around.
Yeah.
And I think that it's even more scary and challenging as a child to do that. So to have these inspiring characters that children really adore and look up to, and then see these characters kind of, try to appreciate the small things in these really hard times, I think is a very powerful and inspirational message for children. And I mean, you're right. What are we doing here? There's something for everyone. But I think that that's such a great, powerful moment, even for children who are watching it.
It is. I mean, and she says, like, it was worth it because we got you. Like, and it is a powerful message for kids who, find themselves in a crappy situation for a lot of their lives. Like, it shows, forming bonds with those around you, and that those you trust and those that have done right by you and stuck by your side through all those tough times, even though you may disagree with what's going on, like the clones apparently have, and like she obviously has. Like, that's okay. And there's going to be people that are going to support you through that, no matter what's going on around you. And it's okay to be vulnerable enough, even in a war, to have that moment and have that connection, because that's what's going to get you through. And that's exactly what we see. I mentioned it was the Force kind of coming at play, not like the mystical Force, intervening and it deactivated his chip. No, it's bringing those two people together in that moment and taking their entire history in this crappy situation, and that overcomes all. It even overcomes Plagueis. Should I just say Darth Plagueis? Jesus.
When are we?
Palpatine. It overcomes, this Sith Lord who's kind of overseen everything and has been the master and of all these puppets. But that friendship overcame that entire plan. Imagine how different things could have been if they wouldn't have had that connection. Rex would have assassinated her there on sight. We don't get Ahsoka helping with the rebellion later on. We don't get that moment. We don't get her, now Holly knows, going out looking for Ezra Bridger. Like, we don't get that stuff. So it's amazing how much of an impact, and that's what I think kids are taking, how much of an impact that friendship and those people that stand by you can have in really dark moments. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful message. So,
and also, if you're thinking in terms of a role model for good leadership, I mean, I think Ahsoka is a great role model for...
No.
Oh, crap.
No.
Different pages, I guess. But
Different books. I mean, there's an argument there, but go ahead.
This is awkward. But Ahsoka is such a powerful role model for, especially like young girls and being a good leader. And like you said, embracing that friendship. You can still be a good leader, but not necessarily lead with fear like we see Palpatine do. And even a little bit in Mace Windu, you kind of like don't respect his leadership skills the same way that you respect like Yoda or Ahsoka. And I just think you see like so many different styles, but ultimately, like, I don't want to say successful, but some are just a little bit easier than others.
Oh, she's a fantastic role model. It's kind of crazy to think like I know I just think of Rey when I think of strong, female characters in Star Wars, I've seen a direct impact on youngsters. I remember going to the Force Awakens premiere and seeing all these youngsters dressed up as Rey, and they've never seen the movie. They have no idea who this person is. They just know that she's going to be powerful, and she's that Luke Skywalker. She's that loyal, person who's going to, bring, justice to those who've been wronged. They just know that. Ahsoka, has been through a ride in Star Wars. Like I said, 2008 or 7 or whatever it was, walking out of the theater, like, what the hell did I just see when I saw the movie? Who is the Snips person? Like, this is crazy. It's like every week, Dave Filoni is saying, I told you this was going to pay off. I told you you're going to love this character. I told you there was a story to be told, and we were going to see that progression. And it wasn't an immediate payoff, like with Rey. People hadn't even seen the film. People were dressing up as her. It's like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand. Now I know why I stuck by, and I'm learning as I've learned more now in these past few episodes about Clone Wars and the message that Dave Filoni is trying to get across than I have in 6 prior seasons. It's crazy because things got a little weird with season 6, and you probably had to be on some, something or other to understand what was going on. But
some greasy cookies.
Some greasy cookies. Listening to that.
I don't think people believe there's where is the grease stain? I can't even read what the hell it is.
Well, Michael, I like that you highlight the positive that's come out of the war in terms of the friendship and the connection that Ahsoka and Rex have in this moment.
Yeah.
And to draw a parallel that's more recent than a century ago, you talk about drawing good things, positive silver linings out of situations. I think there's a lot of that in our current situation.
Yeah.
With sheltering in place, social distancing.
Yeah.
There's still people connecting in really meaningful ways despite that. And a lot of people are maybe more in touch with friends and families than they would be otherwise, because the current situation of not being able to be together physically highlights a lack of connection or a want of connection. And so it makes people maybe be a little more proactive in reaching out, like friends that I would talk to every several months or whatever. Now I'm talking to on a little more regular basis.
Yeah.
During these times, just it kind of prompts you to look for those positive things when you're going through a more difficult time. So that's another parallel to our own experience that this highlights. And I want to touch back real quick on the stuff you're talking about, Maul, about him relishing Palpatine's brilliance in the plan. It I felt like Maul was me defending the prequels for so long, because I've always loved them, and for the longest time people just dismissed them largely, or a large portion of people dismissed them because of Jar Jar Binks, because of the Padme Anakin romance being awkward and weird, and things like that. But I always said, if those things really bother you, look past them to see this crazy plot that's unfolding before you, where this puppet master is playing all sides. Yep. And creating this scenario to allow him to continually gain power and rise to be the emperor. I think that story, that plot is brilliant, and I love it. And so I would always try to get people to look more at that if they didn't like the other aspects of the prequels. So I felt a kinship with Maul there.
Absolutely. Holly.
Oh,
You have more comment on it? Well, I just want to say, speaking of isolation, can we all people think they got it bad right now? Holly says, oh no. She's like, you never know what's going to come out of his mouth. Phrasing. But we all think we have it rough right now. Can we just, call it what it is? Obi-Wan and Yoda are the isolation co-champions, okay? If we're being honest.
Co-champions.
Do you want to be stranded in isolation on Dagobah with snakes and disgusting creatures and a dark force? no, I wouldn't want to. Why do you think he went a little nutty, right? We all were like, this isn't together. He went a little crazy. He is one of a co-isolation champion along with Obi-Wan. We don't even know yet what Obi-Wan went through. We're going to find out.
They both went a little, well.
He went, Obi-Wan had some moments.
Allegedly went a little nutty.
I mean, we all know he went a little nutty, but yeah.
I don't know. Would you rather be in isolation than
Dagobah or
Tatooine?
Tatooine? I don't know. Well, I hate sand, like our
Anakin,
chosen one here. But it's coarse. It gets everywhere. But I also hate snakes, and I hate snakes more. So I would probably rather be stranded on Tatooine, if I'm going to be honest.
I don't agree.
Right. You don't agree?
I think I
you'd
would
hang
be
out
too.
with the wildlife and all in the dark side?
Catch me in the jungle,
in the
isolated.
caves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a dark cave. That is canon. That is Luke went into that dark cave. All right. I got a little sidetracked because I had to make the joke, guys. Sometimes you have to divert the conversation to go for the joke. Going past the Grease
He's got
notes.
extensive notes here.
So what I loved here is and we mentioned this, like Ahsoka. It does everything she can to deflect bolts away from. She doesn't want to hurt the clones. They don't understand what's going on, but seeks the help of the droids. The droids help save the day. We've been kind of lacking droids here for a while. It's been a lot about the Mandos and jetpacks, and yeah, that's cool, but never underestimate a droid.
That's what Princess Leia said.
Apparently, the droids didn't get Order 66. Their chips, weren't turned. So I thought their chips weren't turned. That's a meme. Probably,
Turned
right?
down for what?
That's right. These droids be
The
turned.
droids are like, doo, 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 doo. Their hands are
Little
up if you
lights
can't see it
flashing,
on
spinning
YouTube.
around in circles.
But right, so she seeks out the droids for help. Guys, I need your help. What the hell is going on here? And she gets into that database and finds Rex's notes. And I want to dig into this some more because there's some interesting stuff there in that file. A character that looks like something out of the High Republic. I'm curious to see what it is, what people are going to talk about.
Wait,
but, yeah.
just to be certain, Luke, did you recognize the woman that was in the database, or is this a new
Check
character?
your database, Luke. Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep.
Just thought we'd run it
When
past
they
the
were
expert.
going over the Fives information?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which woman are we talking about?
There, she had
Looked like
really big glowing hair, and it was cool. We'll have to take a screenshot and show you. But
That's the Jedi in the Fives arc. One of the twin sisters at the beginning of the episode.
see, I need to go back and watch this.
I haven't seen it.
She
It's not a
looked
new
familiar.
character. No, it's
Damn.
it's one of the Jedi that's on the battle that kicks the whole arc off. With
Okay.
Fives discovering the chip.
That's where I recognize it then.
See, this is why I asked Luke.
Fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
they're twin sisters, and they have the tentacle hair that kind of flows
Yeah.
behind them, and they have funny names like one's Tiplar and Tiplay or something.
You're absolutely
Yeah, I just
right.
watched the episode earlier today.
Good call. Dang, I wish I would have done the same, but that's okay. So she gets the the help from the droids, and she wants to save Rex. I think that's amazing. There's and it's very similar to she's in a perilous situation. She's on a ship with a bunch of enemy and Maul. Anakin at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, they're in the middle of the Battle of Coruscant, and there's just one clone that's getting fired at from behind. He's like, I'm gonna go help him, and Obi-Wan's like, no, do your duty. He was gonna go out of his way to help this clone. It's just yet another connection, another echo of how similar they are and how much she's learned from him, going out of her way to save her friend. Yeah, she needs him to try to get out of that situation, but you know what? She probably could have found an escape pod and got out of there and said, he's all lost. But there was something there. He was fighting through in that moment, and she knew she needed to figure out what was going on because she's got to save him. I thought that was super cool, and the way they captured him was amazing.
Yeah, he kind of asked her for help when he said, find Fives.
Find Fives.
Find him.
That's exactly how it went, yeah. Stutter and all. But in that moment, okay, so we got to talk about this because I got to make sense of this. She's got him there on the medical table, right? And they can't find the chip, and she uses the Force and starts saying a familiar saying that we know from Rogue One.
The second Rogue One echo, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm one with the Force is with me. And Rex starts repeating it. Luke, were you making any connections there? Is there something? I have not had much time to think about this or what it is. Is it just it is what it is. And they put a reference in there, and it's her kind of trying to reach through to him and say, Rex, are you there? Like, you know, we're all the Force. Like, I'm going to find you. Like, what should we take from that moment?
I really enjoyed the use of that incantation that we know Chirrut loved to say in Rogue One. I joked the Rogue One came out when my wife was pregnant with my son, and it's the only Disney era Star Wars she's seen in the theaters. We went. She was like 5 months pregnant with my son, and you know, we see the movie, and there's the prayer phrase chant of "I'm one with the Force is with me," and I told her I was going to, you know, use that during labor. That chant for I can't remember if I said. I think I said it a little bit.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
At the hospital too. So that's what I always think of, that little anecdote when I think of that. But I like the connection. I love how dialed in Filoni is with all things Star Wars, and to weave a moment like that in here. You know, we've had the little canon touch points with Dryden Voss's image in the last episode and things like that. So I thought it was really great to pull that in, that somebody could use that in a moment, a dire situation. Yeah. To center themselves and to solve a problem, like Chirrut does in Rogue One, to help, you know, get to that button he's got to hit or whatever to, you know, help the transmission go out. So I thought that was a powerful use in a callback to pull something in like that. And I love how semi-conscious Rex joins in with it. That Ahsoka's reaching him through the Force, and he's feeling it too, and joining in. I thought that was a great use of that. Other than, you know, the labor, you know, delivery of the baby.
Well, Michael, you did say that Ahsoka and Rex are connected through the Force, so I kind of feel like that is it directly reflects what you were thinking, because like, I mean, they're both so dialed into each other through the Force that he's going to echo her saying that. You know what gets me, though, is in Rogue One, I kind of feel like Chirrut is kind of played up to be like just this crazy blind man who doesn't know what he's talking about, and he just says the same thing over and over again. Oh my God, like, get him to shut up. I kind of feel like is the attitude in the beginning that they have, Baze, I guess, has about him. I mean, obviously they're friends, so he's not. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they kind of use him saying that to kind of make him seem a little bit crazy, right? Yeah. But then we see Ahsoka use it in this episode, and it has the opposite effect. You're like, this is such a powerful thing for her to be saying in this moment. But I feel like until that scene that Luke referenced, where Chirrut kind of goes out into like the gunfight and stuff, saying that, I feel like you're just kind of like, oh my God, he's just rambling. He's just this crazy person.
Yeah. It almost validates what he was doing, right? Because both Baze and Chirrut are members of the Guardians, right? But the Guardians, not of the galaxy, okay, of the Wills, different property.
I mean,
but still both equally cool
in the galaxy.
In it, probably
the same
in the
galaxy?
same. I think so, you know, but that's just me. But it almost validates what Chirrut was doing. You know, Baze does kind of roll his eyes. Oh, you know, when they're locked up, he's praying. Like, it's almost like he doesn't take it too seriously. But like Luke said, it almost seems like it's kind of this, when you're in over your head and you don't quite understand what's going on, it's almost like a meditative state where you are, like Luke said, kind of getting yourself back to zero to be able to think clearly about what needs to happen next. And it's almost like Ahsoka doesn't understand what's going on. Rex is fighting all these things. So they both just need to get back to zero, which is each other. And that's going to light the way. And it almost validates for me Chirrut using what he's probably read in the old Jedi scripture. Amen. Probably using what he's read and maybe not being able to tap into the Force as much, but it's in us all. It binds us. It penetrates us sometimes, Holly.
Preach, Brother Michael.
Preach. Come on. I'm going to get up on that pulpit now.
There you go.
Put your hand on the scripture. So to me, it's almost validating what he was doing, and that this is something the Jedi were trained to do. I maybe that's incorrect. I don't know. It seems like it's something like legitimate that we're gonna see canonized, and that is like Luke said. They get back to zero. I'm way out of my league. I'm out of my head. What needs to be done in this moment to overcome? There it is, and they see the way. It's crazy. It's so crazy. I love the echoes, the callbacks. It makes so much sense now. A situation. Why is Jared doing this? I get it now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Such a good moment. So Rex snaps out of it, and he doesn't hesitate to shoot his brothers. He's got to in the moment, right? That was another moment. Ahsoka just dodging bullets. It's just so masterful with those sabers after not having them for a while. But it's so great. It's so cinematic too, like Luke was saying. It felt like Star Wars, and she doesn't want to kill him, but Rex comes in, it's got to do it. And then that's where we leave off. I was very surprised that's the moment where we're leaving off there. I thought there'd be a little more, but like, what's to come? Luke, I got to know what's next. One episode to go in Star Wars, The Clone Wars ever. There's no season 8. There's no season 9. This is it. There's no more story to tell.
Yeah, that's got my mind racing. One quick callback to the droids that we didn't get to yet. I want to know Holly's opinion on the sort of Chopper-esque droid. Because at this point, I think Holly's a bigger Rebels fan than Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I hope as big a lover of Chopper as I am. So
Love Chopper.
Despite all the seriousness and heaviness and drama of this episode, I love that they still snuck in some comedic elements with this droid, exhibiting the characteristics and personality of Chopper, down to the little port that he sticks out to access, the droid ports like they always do. Yeah. I immediately saw it was the same shape as Chopper's, which is like different than the one you always see R2 use. Yeah. And the way it was speaking just like Chopper, I got a real kick out of that. I wonder if Holly did.
Yeah, yes. I love that, because one of the things that I love about Chopper, besides him being super sassy. Yeah. Oh, yes, his charisma, yes. Yeah. I just Chopper is such a funny character. And I think that they use that really well, and I really like seeing that happen during the scene, because sometimes you really do need that comedic relief to happen, especially when it's this serious. And it's still Star Wars. I understand that you don't always come to Star Wars just for the humor, but I feel like that's what the droids are kind of there to provide: technical help to our friends and also comedy for us. But I did pick up that he kind of talked like Chopper, and that's one of the things that I was saying that I like the most about Chopper, is that you can kind of understand what he's saying, even though he's not speaking English, so to speak. And
basic, but
well,
English,
to us,
I just needed to just to correct you there. Sorry about that.
Thank you. But I love the droids. The droids definitely saved the day. It doesn't really feel like Star Wars without the droids, and I know the droids were not a big part of this season, so it was really nice to see the droids and Ahsoka's droid also. But I feel like we needed the droids.
Absolutely, they were lacking, and so it made sense for them to come in. And Ahsoka doesn't know either. They could all come up and just zap her and stun her. Who knows? But she's has faith that they're on her side and they'll recognize a familiar face.
I do like when they all she who's her R7. She turns R7 on, right? And then all the other ones kind of light up and start spinning around and talking to her.
What's going on? How can I help?
She's just I don't know.
Yeah, I just had to hear Holly's thoughts on that. So back to your question about what are we gonna get in this final episode? Like I said, I really want to see them actually get to Coruscant and maybe deal with what's going on there, see the temple's burning, maybe get think about what else is going on in Revenge of the Sith at this time. Yeah. Obi-Wan and Yoda make their way back to the temple after a lot of this stuff starts to go down to put out the message to warn other Jedi. just, stay away, go into hiding, lay low. So I think we'll probably see that, maybe Ahsoka received that message. I think that would be another nice touch point. Okay, where are we in Revenge of the Sith timeline now?
Yeah.
Here we are. Other than that, gosh, I hope there is some interaction that maybe Ahsoka has with somebody, her potentially learning a little bit about what's going on with Anakin.
Yeah.
And realizing Maul's premonition is coming true. Although, again, harkening back to Rebels, they have to be kind of careful with that because it's a shock to Ahsoka that Vader is Anakin, and that revelation and that discovery. So they kind of, it would be great to have the emotional impact of that scene and see what happens and see how it plays out in this episode. But at the same time, not maybe overwriting the Rebels story in the canon, which I think they can do and they can play with, because in many ways Vader is a separate entity from Anakin, or she might learn things about Anakin that she doesn't immediately think, oh, and then he became Vader. There's not like a straight line from what she discovers and is revealed to her to that. So I think they could still kind of preserve that bit of the Rebels story, but have some powerful moments where maybe she learns things that are really troubling about what's going on with Anakin.
Yeah, maybe she just thinks that he's like he's passed, like he didn't survive this purge that she finds out about. But you'd have to be careful, like you said, she can't have too many communications, because when Yoda and Obi-Wan go to the temple and look at the holovids, they see Anakin doing it. So if she you don't understand Anakin's turn. Like, you're right. That's not that can't happen, because like Luke said, she's very upset to learn that that couldn't. It's almost like she just sent, like, why am I sensing Anakin? He's gone. So I don't know, and maybe Obi-Wan and Yoda can't risk a transmission to her personally because, of her getting found out or something. I don't know, or giving away their position, but
I don't know. Or they could try to reach her, but she is not in a place where she can be contacted. Yeah. I think that we're going to see her sense Anakin passing and have that emotional moment. But maybe that is how she kind of like dispels Darth Maul's vision by being like, well, this can't be true because
it wasn't true.
I felt him go.
Well, that's what she tells Ezra, right, about Maul. Like, he can't be trusted. Like, maybe she just says, yeah, you were right, something crappy happened. Well, Anakin.
But I think
Anakin passed.
I think that we're going to have to see another interaction between Maul and Ahsoka.
Oh, yeah.
Because before I was like, well, I mean, how is this going to end? Well, maybe they get to Coruscant, or maybe they don't even get to Coruscant. Maybe they don't even make it there. Mm-hmm. But, and Maul just, like, sneaks off, slinks back to his cave, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think that maybe we will see another interaction between them, just based on what I know from Rebels and how, like, yes, she warns Ezra that, but it's not, her focus isn't on, like, how big of a threat Maul is and he needs to be taken down. Mm-hmm. So, like, I think they must have some other interaction in between here and then that kind of makes her be like, I mean, he's a pain in the ass, but, like, he's doing his own thing, and it's not going to take down, like, the galaxy or
no, I'm totally I'm kind of on board with you there, and I feel like just though when I think that things are just going to kind of play out and Maul's just going to kind of leave and that's going to be kind of it, they write a more interesting story. They make it much more complicated. It's like, oh my God, that just makes things way more complicated, and now there's just all these other things at play that I didn't think would even be at play. Like his, capture. I did not see things going that way. So I don't know what to expect. This is so, the story is so unwritten here. Like, we all had an idea, like we talked about in the beginning, where we're going. We know who survives. Generally, you could kind of explain what's going to happen. But here, we know they survive, but how do they do it? Yeah.
What we do, I saw it in the group. One of our Australian viewers was like,
You're not talking about me, are you?
Oh, crap. Was it you?
I don't know. That felt British though. Now
Yeah,
they interchanged. Sorry.
You're just, Michael, you're so flip floppy.
I know.
I don't know. He like posted in the group something about like how the episode was already released and he already got to watch it.
Yeah, so they're ahead. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and he knows what happens. And he's like, I will not tell anybody, but you will not be disappointed.
Yeah.
Basically, hold on to your butts.
It's tomorrow in Australia.
Oh, seriously. He's in the future. He's sending us, Did he go to the portal?
How did he get back?
I don't know. Take me with you. I need to know what happens.
Back to the future.
Back to the future. No, it's great because Holly just wrapped up Rebels. She knows exactly what happens at the end of it. I know some of you guys listening haven't. We won't say any more than we have, but
until we do our Rebels recap.
Holly, I just got to know that there's so much happening for you right now in your Star Wars existence.
My Star Wars journey.
Your journey, yeah. Like, all of these things are happening. Like, Rebels was very emotional. Now, you love Ahsoka. Dare I say you love Maul now. Clone Wars is coming to an end. How are you feeling right now?
Ask me tomorrow.
Ask you tomorrow. Luke, how are you feeling with all of this? Is it sinking in? Or are you just thinking, we got a season 8 coming? I'm sure something else will happen, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's hit me that it's supposedly coming to an end. I think I'm definitely going to rewatch this arc from start to finish when it's in its entirety, just to experience it that way. And there's always so much Star Wars out there, like you said. We're all on this journey, and there's so many avenues to go down. It's great, all this talk of Revenge of the Sith in this time period in Clone Wars and Anakin's turn and how does it happen and what's the result. I'm reading through the second Vader comic line right now, which deals with the moment basically immediately after Revenge of the Sith, and him dealing with his new role and his new body and the armor and everything, and his relationship with now his Sith master. So it's a really great time to be reading that on the back of this stuff. So there's books coming out, so there's always so much there. You're never going to go hungry for Star Wars content in some manner or another. So I never really think about endings anymore, because there's always another layer, another something to dive into in this canon and in this world. Endings, there's no ending. It goes on and on.
So does the Force.
Wow.
Even in passing, it'll be with you always.
Always.
It's crazy. Holly, it's not every day that you get to have a Star Wars talk with Seth Avett. AKA Luke Elder here with us, bringing in some knowledge, dropping some knowledge. I think him and Seth probably see eye to eye a lot on the galaxy, our existence. He's an optimist. I feel like Seth Avett's a big optimist. So I feel like he is speaking for Seth Avett. If Seth Avett were to talk about Star Wars, which he probably doesn't, but maybe we should ask him. Maybe we would tweet at him and say, hey,
let's tweet at him.
We found your doppelganger. Do you agree? Let's talk about Star Wars.
I think that he would be down. What else does he have to do right now except for write some songs?
You don't have
and
to
do some
tour.
Live
That's
Instagram
for sure.
shows.
Yeah. If people don't know who we're talking about the Avett Brothers. We're huge fans. This entire podcast is a huge Avett Brothers fan podcast. That's what it is.
Flying
the Star Wars
casual.
stuff is a rouge.
Yeah.
What's
I
that?
try to pull off the North Carolina accent for your.
Give it a shot for our listeners,
Watch-
Luke. I feel like it's there. Come on.
Watch their documentary.
Oh, may it last. Jeez.
It's very good. Also, it's
cry every
directed by Judd Apatow, and I am obsessed with him.
Who also wrote a great series on Netflix called Love. Holly, I could go on for days about the interconnected world that we live in.
Flying Casual, a Judd Apatow podcast.
I would take Judd Apatow on this podcast. I'd let him produce it, direct it, whatever he wants to do.
Let's get Leslie
He can take
Mann
it
on
over.
as well, and they're just like power couple. Let's go.
I feel like it's all connected. The world is
Force.
connected. The Force is bringing us all together. Now, I'm not saying that Seth Avett's going to be on the next live episode, but who knows, Holly?
might.
Who knows? Maybe Seth Avett will call in to the live podcast.
That would be wonderful.
Folks, that's a brilliant transition, from myself there. I'll take credit for that one. I'm just kidding.
Congratulations.
I'm being humble. I said I was your humble host.
That was not humble.
That was not humble at all. But we do have a lot. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've done a live podcast. I will say that, and I'm sorry for that, but those are a lot of fun. I love interacting with everyone during the cast, and we need to do it more often. I think this is the point where we're going to start doing it a lot more often. So,
What else do we have to do?
what else do we have to do? We don't have to tour, that's for sure.
That's for
Flying
sure.
casual on the road, that can't kick off just
Go
yet.
casual, go.
How many more excuses can I make for the podcast not going international?
The number is infinite.
I know. But, we're having a live podcast tomorrow night, May the 4th of 2020. So know if you're listening to this 2 years from now, it's not, May the 4th, 2022. May the 4th, 2020. It's Star Wars Day. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I guess I have to work.
There's that.
I'm going to try to see if I can buy some figures online, if that's even a thing. We're going to find out.
Drink some blue milk.
Drink some blue milk. There's a couple of cocktails and some blue milk ingredients, recipes on the group right now. I think Wade and Tiffany posted some stuff in there, so make yourself a beverage for tomorrow.
All of the above.
Yeah, have it ready in hand.
Just double fist. A milkshake, a cocktail. What could go wrong?
I've done it, and it's disgusting.
Ew.
Yeah. It's kind of like a White Russian, right? Am I right?
Like a boozy milkshake?
Yeah. I don't think this White Russian was coming out of I don't even know. It was a disgusting, container at a college party. It was terrible.
Just to be sure, the blue milkshake isn't
A White Russian.
a White Russian.
It might be.
And
I
it's
don't
not
know.
a White
I
Russian
don't know.
dyed blue with some blue liqueur.
I would be out if it was.
That's gross.
Yeah, that is disgusting. But what I was saying, and I got off on a rant, was, at 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night on our YouTube channel, we're going to be talking about the series finale of Clone Wars. This is the final episode. We were a little mistaken thinking it was Friday. It is this Monday. So make sure if you're going to join the chat, you go watch that. Apparently, a lot of our international folks have already watched it and have been gracious enough not to spoil it, but make sure you watch that before tomorrow's episode at 9, because there's going to be a lot of spoiling going on.
Tears will be shed.
So if this, if we didn't break it down enough here, tomorrow, just 10 times, we're just going to be talking about all of Clone Wars, what it's meant to us, where, I don't know. I don't know what Dave has in store for us.
Oh, Dave.
Classic Dave.
Ish.
But check that out, guys. Get on the YouTubes. Go on and like that video once it gets up, and subscribe to that page. I will also plug something else. The first trivia trials, Holly, are now on the YouTubes, and they were a lot of fun.
They were so much fun.
So much fun. It took a long time to edit that puppy, but Brent and Jory were amazing in that episode. Great. I will not spoil it, but take an hour and go watch that thing. It was so much fun, and we're just going to keep doing more. It's going to be great. So expect that in the future, but go check that out. But do not miss us, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard on the YouTubes. Anyone have any, further Clone Wars? Closing remarks? Any?
I don't.
Any updates on the book club?
I don't know. I'll announce when we're going to do the book club conversation.
Okay.
Not right now.
Not right. The announcement's not happening right
It's
now.
not. This is not the time for the announcement.
Okay. Luke, any plugs, any further comments, anything else?
No, just enjoy yourselves out there. Stay safe, stay sane.
Gosh, stay safe and stay sane,
And
Holly.
stay 6 feet apart.
Stay 6 feet apart. It's Star Wars Day tomorrow, or is it today? Not quite. We're not quite there, but guys, have yourself a Bud Light Orange. I've got plenty stocked in the fridge for tomorrow night. We'll see you then. Peace.